Mhm. Hello? How this works. Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I couldn't hear anyone. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure I had some volume. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To share your screen this morning. We're beginning on the public hearing in a couple of minutes here.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing.
I sent you a an email with just a few images.
Good. Are we getting close to 10 o'clock, folks? We are right at 10. Meeting is called to order. First order of business is the commission will review the minutes.
Well, no, we're
Oh, we're in the public hearing. I'm very sorry. Okay, go ahead. We have, let me just read what we got on. The commission will receive public comment on the proposed work at 1820 South 6th Street. Whether or not there'll be a vote in today's meeting depends on whether we have a complete application. We will be discussing the application specifically later on in the meeting after we go through the certificate of votes, but that's a commission discussion. For now, the goal is to hear from the public. It is my understanding that there have been some changes in the application, which may impact on the public hearing, but I'll leave that to the applicant to state where he's at with it right now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for reviewing and taking the time. Last week, I had a conversation after our meeting with Paul Barrett. And as I mentioned during the meeting, my goal here is to, do what's right for the community and the building and the architecture. And so I had come to a conclusion that, that obviously I was already leaving the significant stained glass windows in front and back, and nothing would be changed. I had requested that the side religious windows, 6 on the side facing the parking lot that belongs to Berkshire Bank, and the 6 in the internal courtyard, just facing the side, as you can see in the garden here. And Jan, maybe you can show the other 2 images that I had shared as well. I don't know if they're, so that's the interior courtyard. And if you scroll down further, I don't know if you can see those, Jan. Okay, so this is the interior courtyard with the other 6 stained glass windows that are identical to the ones that are facing the parking lot, viewable from Union Street. 5 of these are operable, as you can see, and in decent condition. And there's one boarded up, which is, you can't see it. It's kind of over the porch, interior porch area. So when I spoke to Paul, I was like, listen, if this is such an issue, you know, I don't want to have some adversarial conversation. I'm happy to do what's best for the building. And I don't want this to become we all have better things to do. And if we all agree that it's not the right decision for the building, even though, you know, I will be the owner and I'm an artist and I need more light and the light is very dark, in particular, you know, in the main space, then, you know, then forget it. I mean, you know, and then this morning I was thinking, because someone had suggested putting skylights on the roof, which I would never do, because for me, that is a bastardization, and talk about wanting to preserve, you know, the architectural integrity of a building. That's something I would not ever want to do. So it dawned on me this morning as a compromise, if it were amenable to the public and to everyone on the board, if perhaps as a compromise, I was able to change out the internal 6 windows, being that one of them is boarded up, and, you know, and this is not viewable to the public because it's the interior courtyard facing another side of a residential property on the inside of the property. So I was wondering if that would be a compromise that would be amenable to everyone. And that would be, you know, obviously, as we discussed, the lower ones are just, you know, 50s windows and there's no stained glass or anything in any of those. As with the parsonage, they're just, you know, rotted out old windows. If you go up to the top again, yeah, you see those windows in the parsonage. Those had requested that those just be replaced to 2/2s as well, including the ones to the right. If you point down, Jan, yeah, those exactly on the lower level, which you know, are just, you know, insignificant windows in terms of nothing in relationship to the building and its history. So that's really about it. Any questions that I can answer?
Can you hear me?
You're kind of low. I can hear you, but it's a little low.
Okay, maybe we can get the volume up. Before the public weighs in, to be clear, you're telling the commission that you have given further consideration, and the plan now going forward would be to not replace or remove any of the stained glass. Is that correct?
Yes, but as of this, like I said, as a compromise, I thought this morning, because I thought, well, what if I would recommend or suggest that I could remove 6 of the interior windows of this courtyard and nothing else? I mean, obviously the ones that are in the house and the 2/2s are not relevant to what we're talking about. But is that Paul talking? I couldn't.
No one's talking.
Oh, no, the person had asked me the question.
Oh, Phil. That was Phil.
The request, as I understand it, has been amended to be removal of 6 windows instead of 12.
Is that your understanding as well? And the windows that we're addressing are currently installed as clear glass. And your thought is to
No.
bring in a new.
They are the 6 stained glass windows, but only on the interior courtyard side of the building.
That's not.
Exactly. Yes, that's correct.
So the plan is still to remove the 6 of the stained glass.
6 is the 12.
I see.
6
Okay.
instead of 12, and those are on the interior courtyard, which are not visible to anyone, really. I mean, and that would provide me with the light that's necessary, at least on one side of the building, without affecting essentially the facade to the public or the public's view of the building.
And you would still want to replace the ground floor windows on the Union Street side as well.
Yeah. I mean, those are just, those are not even, in period of the building. Those were probably removed in the 50s and replaced, anyway. Because they're not, they have no significance in terms of, but the upper ones are the stained glass ones. And again, I went into this, being conscious about not even considering the removal of any of the other windows, which are the arch windows, the stained glass windows on the front of the building, the rear of the building, which is on the other interior courtyard, mimicking the arch window on the front of the building and mimicking the stained glass on the street side, which I never even, asked for any consideration regarding those. So, like I said, as a compromise and because of the light issue and because of the condition of the windows, even if there were 3 that were replaced on the interior courtyard as opposed to 6, that would at least help get some light into the space as well. So what I'm willing, I guess what I'm saying is I'm really willing to compromise, with the building in lieu of, what is necessary for me as an artist and for the light that's necessary in a significant way. But I understand the value of, and I respect the board's preservation of other buildings similar to mine in town. So I was willing, if I was wanting to see if there would be some level of consideration for at least meeting me somewhere halfway here.
Okay. So, anything else you want to share at this phase, with the public for comment or?
No, I just wanted to say, thank you all for your time. And like I said last week, I'm not here to be adversary. I'm here I care about the community that we live in. I've restored many properties in and around Hudson, and I've always maintained the utmost architectural integrity of the projects that I have been involved in. And I certainly don't want it to stop here. So, I just would hope that, there would be some consideration, regarding what I'm proposing. And that's really about it. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. We'll come back and talk some more, but at this point, we want to hear from the public. So folks, raise your hand or whatever, or signal, and Janet get you on board.
For someone in person.
Oh, sorry, Rick.
Hi there, I'm Rick Rector. Just a quick question. Is this a public hearing or is he changing the application?
A bit of both is happening. This is a public hearing and an applicant has come to the public hearing suggesting that he's open to some compromise.
And has the made a decision about this yet?
No,
No.
the commission has not deliberated. We haven't even declared the application complete.
So the application is already completed, you're having a public hearing?
That's correct. We haven't even voted on
Gotcha.
whether or not the application was complete.
So Christabel.
Christabel hasn't had a.
Christabel?
Yes, hello, you're hearing me?
Hi, Christabel.
Hello, thank you. I'm going to tell you what I originally determined to say. Obviously, any stained glass that is preserved is desirable, and we believe that all of the stained glass should be preserved. However, let me just say, we are looking at an unusual, if not unique, building in a prominent place in the historic district. And unfortunately, there is an application to strip it of a distinctive feature, a series of stained glass windows illustrating biblical subjects running along both sides of the building. And I have to say, I don't agree that both sides are visible from the street. One is extremely prominent, but both are in fact visible. So they light the nave and decorate a major street now that the parking lot has opened a sidewall to the street. To strip the building of the vivid color and the articulation that the stained glass provides is especially grievous since there is no restoration of the original wooden surfaces. The fake siding, which should never have been allowed, and reportedly did not receive the blessing of this commission, will be further disfigured by a futile attempt to paint it. The synthetic will not bond with paint as the original wood would do. It is regrettable that the project has been characterized as restoration when the fake siding is to be left in place. Real restoration would begin with its removal. We see no evidence presented of decay or failure of the stained glass. The proposal is entirely counterproductive from the standpoint of historic preservation. Observing the Secretary of the Interior's standards for the treatment of historic properties is not required by law in this situation, but the standards still provide valuable guidance. The federal standards state in part, quote, distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques are examples of craftsmanship that characterize a building will be preserved. We hope that that will happen in this case, not least because the historic architecture of Hudson is an important factor in its prosperity, a tourist attraction, and an incentive for private investment. It is also a pleasure for many of us, remembering the warning words of the New York City Landmarks Law, that without landmark regulation, quote, distinct areas may be uprooted or may have their distinctiveness destroyed, although the preservation thereof may be both feasible and desirable. Thank you.
Thank you, Christabel.
Thank you, Christabel, and I agree with you. And like I said, I'm not here to be adversary. If that's what everyone's opinion is, and the stained glass needs to remain, then it needs to remain. I'll do everything in my power to do everything else to make it better than what it is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Capano.
Of course. All right. I mean, I don't really need to hear much more, and I don't know that anyone needs to hear much more from me. Like I said, I went into this meeting prior to the public hearing with the acceptance that, you know, it would be something that wouldn't be granted. And as a last minute sort of idea this morning, I thought, okay, well, let's see if, you know, there's some sort of possibility of making a compromise here, but I understand that that's not possible. And Christabel, I understand completely what you're saying. And, you know, I'll leave the rest up to the gang.
So, just to be clear on where we're at, as Mayor Rector pointed out, we don't even yet have a complete application, so we need to consider what the next discussion of this without a complete application. Let's complete public comment.
When you say not a complete application, I'm not sure what you mean by that, because I thought I did submit a complete application.
I thought we were talking about potential changes in that application relative to the stained glass and other windows being replaced. Did I misunderstand?
Maybe I'm not understanding, so maybe clarify
The
someone.
application has to accurately represent what you intend to build.
I don't intend to build anything. Like I said, the conversation was about the stained glass windows, and that's off the table now. Then it's off the table. The only thing I'm going to replace are the.
Nothing is off the table until the commission decides with you what's off the table. Right now, this is just a conversation with the public.
Right, it looks like we have another public comment from Matt McGee.
Ronald or Matt?
This is Ronald. Matt is going to speak after I speak. And again, as in the case of Mrs. Goff, I am going to read what I prepared in response to the proposal as I understood it to be 2 weeks ago. So take that into consideration. And I also hope we can arrive at a spirit of conciliation here. The notice of this application on the City of Hudson website refers to it as involving adaptive reuse and restoration. The first term poses two problems. Adaptive reuse is a well-established principle in historic preservation. We are all no doubt aware of successful examples of its employment. It is a defined term in the historic preservation section of the City of Hudson Code, phrased there as adaptive use. The second term, restoration, raises questions. A restoration usually involves returning a building to an earlier stage based on evidence. It is questionable that a proposal that removes original material while retaining non-original material, that is the siding whose installation was controversial at the time that it was installed, can be described as a restoration. The stained glass windows that are to be removed are indeed old. They are original. Are they in disrepair? Do they weaken the structural integrity of the building? Do they threaten the building's security? Neither the historic preservation section of Hudson's Code, nor the Commission's guidelines, or the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines, which the Commission has included in its certificate of appropriateness application packet, precludes normal repairs. All three urge respect for original historic material and its preservation and restoration to the extent possible. The Commission should follow this lead. Thank you. And now Matt will speak.
This is Matt McGee. I've done a very careful examination of the bill, and I will skip most of what I had to say about the stained glass. I will point out that I did photograph it, and I zoomed in and examined the windows, and they're in very good condition throughout the building. Now, the other finding I made was that there actually are only 5 stained glass windows on each side of the upper story. And at the back, for the east wall of the building, there are 2 windows which are not stained glass. They appear to be frosted glass with a pattern, and these windows do let in a great deal of light, as would all the windows actually. They are not stained glass. And the lower windows on the building are, from what I can tell, the original windows from when the house was built. They are hard to examine because of the modern storm windows which have been installed over them. But as it were, they're double hung wood windows with frosted patterned glass in them. And I also, I meant to say, if there was some way that the secretary or someone could show the images. Which
Yes, I'll do that right
it
now,
would
Matt.
help illustrate the real beauty and charm of this.
Yeah, just give me one second here.
Thank you. I'll just continue to speak.
Okay.
In any case, the thing that really needs to be done is to remove the vinyl siding, which is really framing and these beautiful windows in a very unfortunate way. The arched windows are outlined with straight lines, and they lose their beauty as arches in their outline. It would be helpful if the wood were restored to view. This is a detail of one of the windows in the tower on the front of the building. And it shows you the quality of the work.
Can I just say, can I interrupt for 1 second? I feel like we're kind of going back to I'm fine with the windows not being,
I'm sorry.
Yes, I understand that. I'm mostly speaking to the windows which are covered, which have this glass in them, that the pattern which we're showing here, which I photographed. And this is one of the windows on the lower level. And it shows you how it's obscured by the storm window that's been installed over it. This is a view of the back of the church showing the parish house with its lovely porch and yard. This is a view of the altar window and one of the two side windows that are on the back, and you can see the beauty of them. Here's a view of the lovely porch. All of these things could be enhanced and made more appreciable by removing the vinyl and keeping all of the original fabric of the building, including the windows and the wood sashes and the original glass where it exists. This is an image of one of the stained glass windows from outside. I brought up the color so you could see it. This is the side of the church where you can see the unique architectural design of it obscures the fact that it's actually 2 stories with the sanctuary on the top level, and the other space down below was used probably for offices and gathering. This is the front facade.
again, can I interrupt again? I'm kind of, we're in agreement with none of the windows that you're pointing out.
What I'm really concerned now with is I really appreciate that you're willing to maintain and preserve the stained glass windows. I wish we could go to the next step and really show off the beauty of these windows by taking away the vinyl and exposing their wood setting that they originally had, which would bring out their jewel-like qualities more so than when they are juxtaposed against vinyl. And the original look of the building would be restored. And this is a valuable asset of the people of Hudson and should be brought up to its greatest beauty and charm for everyone. Thank you. I hope.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Yes,
can I just explain the process to the applicant? It might be
Sure,
familiar with
sure.
the Hudson, how the historic preservation.
please go ahead, Victoria.
So in general, you submit an application and the board reviews it and the public comments on it on what you've submitted. And so right now, everyone's commenting on the application that was submitted, which was for the removal of all 12 windows. Earlier, you raised an option of removing potentially just 6 windows. So they can comment on that as well, although that's not been officially submitted. If you've decided not to proceed with your application, the board is not going to tell you not to proceed, but you are welcome to withdraw. But the board has to continue the process on what you've submitted unless you formally withdraw the application.
Oh, Joe, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry, of course. Again, when we started the conversation, I was very clear that maybe I don't know what the protocol is, and thanks for explaining that to me. Then withdraw the application. I don't want to sit here and I'm in agreement with what everybody is saying regarding, my perspective and my needs might be a little bit different. Like I said, I've restored a Masonic temple in the village of Hillsdale. I went through the same process that we did here. The building is absolutely gorgeous. There's no question here. And if the aluminum siding was there before me, then, everyone throws out all of these ideas, but don't sort of necessarily take into consideration the financial ramification of these requests. And maybe over a period of time that will happen. But in the meantime, I want to take care of what I can take care of right now to make the building. I mean, like I said, I'm painting it all white as it probably originally was. I'm not interested in painting it green or yellow. And I understand that, that's not a jurisdiction that the Historical Preservation Committee has over any building, which I'm surprised because personally, the color of a building affects the historical relevance of it. So you have my word that I will do my best. The stained glass windows, I agree with you, Matthew. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're a work of art. I don't know if anyone knows, but I'm a painter, I'm a sculptor. I understand the significance and the value of things. And perhaps I should have taken more of a consideration when I even proposed this. Again, this is my first, kind of interaction with the Historical Preservation Committee here in Hudson. And if it's off the table, it's off the table. I do not want to have anyone be upset. I'm here to work with everyone. So let's just not remove the stained glass. So remove the application.
You don't decide that is off the table. If you want to formally withdraw, you can state for the record that you are formally withdrawing your application, but the board's not the board can't withdraw it on your behalf.
Okay, no, so then yes, regarding all stained glass windows, I am withdrawing the application to do so.
Okay, that's noted. Is there anything else on the C of A request that the board needs to weigh? Oh, so the other windows on the parsonage and the basement windows are still part of your request?
Well, the other windows are just in the parsonage should have no relevance. They're 2/2s. I mean, people are putting crappy vinyl windows without even paying attention to this architectural significance of any building. So yes, if that.
I understand your opinion, but they still need to review the application and they need to make the determination of whether it's appropriate to remove and replace those windows in the basement windows. So
Yes.
understanding that, you believe they're less significant. So if you've withdrawn the stained glass portion, that's noted, and the board can move forward processing the remainder of your application.
Yes, please.
Okay. Any other public comment?
No.
With that, the public hearing is closed. Thank you so much, everyone. We're gonna go on to.
Thank you.
Voting. Stay with, because I want to talk to you a little bit later on and see where we are in terms of the complete application.
Okay, I can't be on. I have another meeting that I have to run to. So can we talk later or whenever?
I can't really do some of this stuff offline. It ends up being,
Do you want to take this one first before the C of A's?
or why don't we continue the discussion? We won't vote on the C of A's and let's go through, what is in and what's in, not in the application. Victoria didn't state this specifically. The commission is not bound, by what we hear in public comment. We take it very, very seriously. But the commission will make up its own mind, as far as that goes. And similarly, you should too, put forward what you think is best, taking into account where you're meeting some headwinds and so on. But, do we have the original application, Jen? On your
Yes,
computer?
yeah.
Let's flip through that.
Okay. This is the only one that I have, so.
Okay. Joe, let us know if this is correct or we're missing anything. Otherwise, we'll keep on scrolling through and go to some of the points.
Yeah, Craig was kind enough to submit this for me. So whatever he submitted, is, let's see, repair including, there is no brick or stone, windows, doors. I mean, the doors are all going to remain, so that's not an issue. The roofing is just being repaired. It's going to stay the way it is. So there's nothing there. The fence is a plastic fence. I'd like to remove that and put a proper wooden fence, but again, I don't want to, I can do that or submit it now. It's up to you guys, whatever works. I'm happy.
Is it in that application?
Well,
the
it's,
fence?
I have fence here. It says repair existing, so
Do you have, so that's a repair, but you were talking about replacement. Is replacement of the fence in that application?
no, then it's staying plastic.
Then we can't consider it. You
Okay.
either add it rolling forward to this application or put in a fence application.
Okay, no, then it's staying as is.
What are the other changes?
I'm sorry?
We were doing good. What else, do you want to point out in this application?
Nothing really.
Do we have specs on the replacement windows you're talking about?
I did, those were submitted. And obviously that would change considerable. Well, there is no replacing other than the ones in the parsonage and the lower windows. And there's a schedule for those that was submitted originally with Craig and also with Jan.
Okay,
So in the application, I have a photograph of the narrative that says to be replaced with 2/2 white Anderson windows, but I don't see an actual like construction spec.
Okay, I sent those. I can send them again.
Quote, yeah.
Okay. no window quote.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I just have to stop there in a minute.
I sent it in the last email. Remember when I was there, Jan, and whatever was in that group of images.
we're finding it.
And I'm happy to resend now if that's.
Okay, there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On one sec. Oh yeah, there they go. Okay. I was gonna resend.
Are they clad in aluminum or are they wood?
I'm sorry.
I was asking if they're fully wood or if there's aluminum on the outside.
They're double hung, they're wood painted. I'm just looking at the specs as well.
they're painted wood.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Is that question for me or for someone else?
So we're basically, you're asking the board at this point just to consider replacement of the two windows with the Anderson wood windows as described in the spec sheet.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
Okay, great.
Is painting the siding part of this also?
I believe and that the intent is to leave the existing clad siding in place and paint it. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, painting the siding is part of it.
So a new application would only be the changes of those 2/2 windows on the lower level. And the
Well,
parsonage.
it's already in the application.
But the application also has the stained glass.
We can delete that
All right.
in the C of A. I just want to give us an opportunity to understand whether what the applicant wants to do is in complete form.
Okay.
This Anderson quote is for 55 windows. You have it mixed with other windows you're ordering for something else?
No, that was the whole, because originally I had submitted them as the overall package. And then when I submitted it for the application, it only included the windows that we're discussing. So I just sent those as a reference for you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, I guess, because you only will have, it's like one type of window that'll go in the 12 spaces of the first one, you'll have all the two other two. Because it just shows like there's 6 different types or whatever.
Okay, so can you pull up the images again, please?
Yeah, there's some
Of the
type of
windows?
the lower part of the church too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are gonna be 202s now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are being replaced on both flanks, on this side and the other side, and then the ones that are red, the ones that you showed.
Okay, so you see where the location says, obviously the front entry window, those no longer are. Unless that's, scroll down a little bit, please. Sorry, I took off my glasses to see this. Well, disregard the lower ones, just start at the top again, please. Okay, so based on the size, 30 by 56. I believe those were for the front of the church, so those no longer are in discussion. That is the lower front side left, so that must be the bathroom window. Disregard the upper right. Next. Those are all for the church, so disregard all of those. Lower level, these are the lower level ones in the church. So down to the line where it says quantity 10. Okay. Okay, those are referring to those. And then disregard those. House. Okay, so house upstairs, downstairs. This is for the parsonage. Okay, and if you scroll down one more, those are house downstairs. It says house downstairs kitchen. Those all pertain to the actual parsonage that are just currently, regular windows.
And those are all the existing opening sizes.
I'm sorry, what was your question, Kim?
Are all the existing opening sizes?
Yes, all the existing exact opening sizes.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining that. Sorry.
You're welcome. No worries. So the rest can just be discarded at this point.
I think the only new information we need to think about is what was brought up by Matt, showing the actual store windows on top if they're original or not. If they are windows from the 50s or if they are. When he showed the example of the store window on top of the bottom.
There were a couple different thoughts around that. One was the storm windows are not terribly absolute structure and so on, but are the storm windows staying in place, Joe?
No.
I don't
No.
like storm windows, even if it's for, I normally take out storm windows. I just don't like, unless in the
Storm
future,
windows.
in the future, I'd like to do wooden storm windows, to get rid of those, because, I think we're in agreement. They're not.
We'll do that when we do the fence. Do you have any additional thoughts or comments about the often? And folks were right. I used the term restoration may have been mine. Any thoughts you had or whatever in respect to the suggestion from some of the folks in the public that it would be useful to take off the cladding and go to the original wood.
Although I respect that, I'm not in a position to be, financially doing that and potentially showing maybe all of the siding is rotted underneath. So I think in terms of preservation, for the time being, it's going to be painted.
Okay. Commissioners, thoughts and feelings, starting with, do you have enough information?
And I think painting it white is going to make it look a lot better and not accentuating the detail of the vinyl details, including those shingles are also vinyl underneath the windows. And I've just found that, you know, painting something white, especially because it probably was white to begin with. I think it was. I have images from as far back as I can date, and it was, would be the best solution in terms of taking care of that for the time being.
Just as a point of information, it might be, understand this is what your application is and this is what we'll vote on, but since the siding was added quite recently, I think it was 2010 or 11, and it was controversial at the time when it was done, I bet there are pictures of the church without the siding on it that are pretty recent. And you might be able, rather than paying to paint it twice, you might discover that the siding is actually in pretty good shape. The problem was they didn't want to have to go on painting it. At least that was how. it was
That's a great suggestion. And I will ask, I will ask and see when it was. And if that's the case, I'm happy to do that because I'd rather paint, and I think that's a great suggestion and I appreciate it. I'd rather paint the wood than paint the siding.
Exactly.
You know, so thank you for that. And that's a very good suggestion. Maybe we can take a piece of it off on one section and just see what the condition of it is. You know, I did that recently on an old house too, and, you know, the siding was fine. You know, but when you're stepping into, you know, buying a property, as we all know, the expenses add up pretty quickly. And so, you know, we try to do things as we can along the process, but I think that's a wonderful suggestion and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are the 2 over 2 windows, are they, what's the material?
Wood. Anderson, we have spec sheets.
And I think, and we're only going on one thing.
Well, I'm trying to sort this out so that we can get a little bit more done. We could say that we find the application complete specifically and limited to the replacement glass windows. We can suggest to the applicant that doing a little bit more work and determining the condition of the wood underneath the siding and the specifics of the fence that he'd like would open the door to a clean application that reflects the current reality, does not include any reference to stained glass, embraces the windows, what the applicant ends up deciding to do on the siding, and what the applicant ends up to do on the fence. Both ways are valid, I think. I prefer the second, but
Sure, he wants to move forward though and order these things.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say let's get something to move. And if he wants to come back for a fence, let know. Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Why don't we go to?
can I say something? I appreciate the suggestion that was just given to me, but I do not want it to be a condition of, if I decide to do that and I can do it, I certainly will. You know, because I will do the right thing, but I certainly don't want it to be another condition, you know, because it was kindly suggested to me and I kindly agreed and thought it was a great idea, but I don't want that to be another stumbling point now.
it's not stumbling. As I said, there are a couple of ways to go. I was really trying to do this efficiently for you, but I take that comment as thoughtful.
Yeah, you could just apply.
Okay, so folks, let's go ahead. In terms of what we are looking at today, it is basically just the Anderson windows.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay. Motion to find the application complete.
Yes.
Hugh and Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion to ask the city attorney to prepare a C of A for the Anderson window replacement. Jeremy and Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Done. You will have a C of A. We have to, it takes 2 weeks to process, right? We'll vote on it at the next meeting.
I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
gonna be 3 minutes, right?
Is it okay for me to leave the meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
One more. Okay.
All right, next, CBA votes.
Did we do the minutes now or?
No.
No, now we can do
We have to-
this. Good point.
Call the regular meeting.
Regular meetings called to order, review the minutes from prior meeting. We'd like to approve them.
Second.
And all in favor? Aye, unanimous. Thank you, Jan.
We have our 59 Allen Street application.
CBA. Yeah,
Is
Sorry,
Walker on?
CBA.
No,
no,
Okay, I just want to note that his C of A application is for more than just the stairs, but we've only talked about the stairs.
this is only the stairs and the railing associated with it. And I think there was a fence from it. I have that somewhere. And I think Craig does.
This, so just to be clear, Victoria, this says for the installation of metal exterior stairs pursuant to the specifications submitted to the commission.
Right, I drafted it like that, but if you pull up his application dated May 10th, it
Yeah.
says repair and replacement of original historic elements, insulation, stucco, and window replacement.
wasn't that the discussion we had before, he already fixed that?
He changed that
Yes,
part.
he did.
Yeah, he changed the art.
So it's, but that's what the May 10th application
That's
said.
not in what we're voting on.
Okay, just being clear, so
I don't have
for
that.
the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve the C of A for the stairs and steps. That's Paul and Jeremy, all in favor? Aye. Approved. 228 Allen Street.
This was the demolition of the garage and the construction of the new garage. I remember it was along Cross Alley and partition.
Yeah, Paul and Kim. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Approved. 614, 620 Columbia Street, sometimes called Hudson Forum. Miranda, yes. Second, Paul, all in favor, unanimous. 620 Warren, Carriage House.
Oh,
That
yes.
was the garage.
The one with the red, yeah.
Garage.
Yes, yes.
Jeremy and Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
That one had a condition about the garage doors and that.
The garage doors will match the garage door of the neighbor as shown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Any other business? Let's check.
No,
Victoria, you were saying our next meeting is,
Because there's an
Somewhere
extra,
there.
there's an extra week this month. I think the next meeting's 3 weeks,
14.
the 14th.
that's the story. Thanks, everybody. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Aye, Jen.
thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Um,